I'm delighted to be here with you, Van, for our Living Library interview. We first met in 1998, 22 years ago.
That's when it was, huh?
Yeah, I would say you look virtually the same.
Like
Maybe
I have good genes from my
you
parents.
really
But
do.
I also
And
take care of myself.
yeah, you've always just really touched me with your kindness, your patience, your compassion, your generosity, and also your brilliance and your discernment and discrimination. And I think, in my experience, this is unique among our teaching circle to have this combination of qualities. So I really consider you a living treasure in our work and am honored to have this chance to dialogue with you and give others the opportunity to know you a bit better, or to know you at all for those who will never have had a chance, the blessing to meet you in person as I have. So I'd like to just begin by asking a bit about your background, what led you to this work, things like that.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. Well, that's a very touching introduction. And first, I want to offer praise to you to starting this project, and also to let viewers know, that your openness and curiosity and appreciation of the people that you're interviewing, and when you moderate meetings, and your gift for expressing appreciation and positive strokes. Because what you said about me, I'm going, oh, she understands me. So I'm touched by that, and I am happy that you notice these qualities and appreciate them. And I just noticed something, and we're both. I'm centering my camera because we're both ones on the Enneagram, so we know that we have this perfection thing, and yeah, it's an interesting combination. The perfectionism, which helps with the let's say discrimination, is a double-edged sword. It has its pros and cons. So sometimes I drive myself crazy with things like how things are lined up. And I was a dentist for 40 years, and this also fed my obsession with perfection. But I will do my best to put that aside and just relax and flow into this. So I was saying, you notice that I do value kindness and, let's say, compassion and love. I will share more about that. And I have been gifted by, let's say, high discrimination and let's say I can split hairs about intellectual matters. And in this case, we're talking about like spiritual dharma and just, spiritual matters. So I have the gift of being able to delve into details and a great curiosity. Like when I was overall, since being young, I want to know everything about everything. So, so in spiritual matters, I was curious about many things, many different areas, and what trying to get to the heart of, well, like, what's this about, and how does this compare to this, and why does this spiritual group say this and this teacher say this, and what's their level of realization? So as a spiritual seeker, I was looking for the highest teachings, the most realized teachers, and getting the most complete spiritual perspective, spiritual work. I was looking for, if I could find it, the ultimate. And skipping forward to the point of discrimination, I was trying to figure out all these different things that I'd studied, and I'll share more details about some things that were important to me spiritually, and then how I ended up in what was Waking Down originally, and then that has now evolved and transformed into Trillium Awakening. So when I did get involved in Waking Down and became a teacher, Sanyal made me the unofficial Dharma guardian, because I knew all these points and compared this and this, and because I was trying to figure out everything, what made things tick, and so that discrimination capacity served me well. The other theme that I wanted to share about and develop is I also have a devotional nature, and that's the feeling side. So let's say I have both feeling and the intellectual mental discrimination. So I'm glad to have that combination, because they both serve well, and as a spiritual seeker, and then evolving into spiritual teacher or coach. And then there are a lot of things I explore and have something to say about.
Great.
To skip forward to the punchline so I don't miss this, one of the things that is let's say dear to my heart, and a big part of my makeup is the four-letter word love. And I'd go capital L love and small l love. The whole spectrum of love. And I feel that supreme love is at the heart of existence. So I have, the realization of consciousness is also very important and necessary. This is, I kind of weave it together in a triad basket, which I'll say more about as we go on. But this is one theme that feeling and love, and in this case, let's say, supreme love, divine love, has been an important and key part of my spiritual process. And then you mix in discrimination, and so a lot of people know about the discrimination side of me, and I think a fair number know about the love side of me, but I'm just making it explicit here for the video.
Yeah. So they're very integrated, and
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if I want to go into that now. I think I'm going to jump around a little bit. When I had what we call the second birth, That was August 11th, 1995. Um, I didn't think it could happen to me. And this would be another theme that I want to share about is that when I was younger, and I'll share like how I got into my spiritual search. So if I remember to ask me to go back to the beginning, I never thought I could awaken in this lifetime. That wasn't an aspiration. I was just had a ravenous desire to delve into spiritual matters, and kept following my heart and obsession. Studied lots of different traditions. I will say more about that. And
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said you didn't think you could awaken in this lifetime. What did awakening mean to you at that point in your life?
Well, just to finish the sentence, like I didn't think awakening was possible. So when it happened, I was very surprised. Okay. And it happened rather rapidly. And I kept saying, the thought kept arising, this shouldn't be happening to me. And I would recognize that thought is arising in consciousness, in conscious awareness. And, you know, and one thing that Sanyal, I liked, he made this joke, who would have thunk? So I was major into who would have thunk, you know, like, who, me? So there's been a lot of grace in my life. That's another thing I want to talk about, the capital G, grace. There's this grace factor of, let's say, spiritual blessing unfolding that has been a key part of my life. And I think anyone who is open in a feeling way, that is something at the heart, you know, of us and of existence. And so grace was, let's say, playing a role and unfolding the magical happenings of my life, which included, you know, what we now call, you know, initial whole being realization, and further advancing, and then becoming a spiritual teacher, which I didn't have a conscious aspiration. I'm going to grow up and become a spiritual teacher. It unfolded organically and just follow my nose. And so I want to offer this as an encouragement for people at all levels of their spiritual search, and as a spiritual seeker and exploration of spiritual matters, is just follow your heart, follow your deepest desire. What our personality and mind knows about and thinks about ourselves is incomplete, and there may be surprises, you know, many surprises around the corner. So just keep going and delving into that which you love and is meaningful to you. You know, follow your heart's desire. So that's what happened. And so here I am, you know, a teacher of Trillium. And, you know, when we had Waking Down, there were senior teachers. And so, you know, I was senior teacher of that, and it all unfolded magically.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful. So go back to the question that you had asked me.
What did awakening mean to you?
Oh yeah, what awakening meant to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so it evolved and varied. Let me go back to a key in my spiritual seeking and development that will, you know, go to this question of what awakening meant to me.
Okay.
So from being a young child, I was interested in what in my childish conception was God. And I would pray to God for things I needed in my life. And I remember praying for good grades, and I got good grades. And so let's say from that point, I was spiritual from a young age.
Mm.
Okay. And didn't get a lot of religious belief imprinting from my parents, because they didn't go to church. My mother was more Buddhist oriented, but mixed in with Catholic, because she was she grew up in Hanoi, North Vietnam, and so she was from a more wealthy family. So there was a more French influence. So there was this Catholicism factor.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and then my father was from South Vietnam. That's in the South coming together.
Wow.
And he was more Buddhist oriented. But they didn't take us to church, and so I didn't get a lot of religious imprinting. But I did get some Judeo-Christian kind of ideas, maybe from previous lifetimes, things about sin and heaven and hell and those kind of things. So the point is, I was always kind of fascinated with these things.
Mm.
Now, skip forward to college, somewhere in college time. And I'll just have to hit the highlights because don't want to spend hours and hours on spiritual history. But I would say that one opening factor for me, and this is, child of the 60s, I was born in 1951, was psychedelic, psychoactive substances. So I did experiment with psychedelic drugs, LSD, mescaline, psilocybin, those kind of things. And that opened things up.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think everyone thought like I did. And then after somewhere, I think it was in my first psychedelic trip, I was seeing there was a multiplicity of views. Everyone had their own personal reality.
Mm.
So there were, millions of perspectives. And then so I thought, hey, I've been set with my perspective. And so it opened things up. And I didn't understand these experiences. So a key person in getting some spiritual education help was Alan Watts. So I read Alan Watts, and he had this book, Joyous Cosmology, about psychedelic experience. And he talked about yin yang and these kind of things. And so I'm going, oh, so I could put my expanded perspective in psychedelic perspective and have some orientation and understanding of what it was revealing.
Mm.
So I continued. I would often go to take psychedelic, some appropriate high quality psychedelic drug, and go out to nature, often Marin County. I grew up in San Francisco. So, and I would get these experiences, not all the time, but basically a significant number of times of some heightened unity.
Mm.
And I remember there was one trip and I was going, I've discovered the secret of the universe. And I felt the yin yang and how everything was all like woven together in a complementary way, and this sense of this some mysterious seamless unity underlying everything. And I remember thinking, I found the key to the universe. And then after the drug wore off, then I was going, and I think I had scribbled notes and things like that.
Oh.
But then it's like, then I was out of the experience, and I go, oh, I like that. I want more of that. So basically, at a certain point, I'm going, doing the Reader's Digest version. I was going, I would like to experience what this deeper, connected, unified experience that I've found through chemical means, non-chemically, without any chemicals. So I was, in a way, looking for unity, the sense of underlying unity in a non-chemical way. So then, obviously, then I was enjoying marijuana in those days, the 60s. And also, a little tangential aside, I got to go to the Fillmore Ballroom and hear these incredible groups that people had are famous now, like the Doors and Jimi Hendrix. And actually, that unity, one of those unity experiences where I found the key of the universe was at one of the concerts.
Oh my God!
In the dressing room there at the Fillmore.
That's so cool.
So, okay, for those who appreciate the 60s. So at a certain point, then I stopped psychedelic drugs and even stopped the marijuana because I wanted to know I could get high by myself. So I would go to concerts. Obviously, we all did this. We go to see the Beatles' Yellow Submarine or go to some movie and we get stoned, or go to a concert and you get high and you go, wow, this is incredible. And I was feeling like, okay, the marijuana is like a radio channel. It like tunes me into this channel I really like, but it's set because the chemical is doing its thing. And I go, and I want to know that I could experience that music concert without the enhancement of marijuana, as an example. So I go, okay, I want to be able to experience this without drugs. So I stopped it. So I want to be able to get high naturally.
Wow.
Just like go to the music concert, get high, go out to nature, get high. Find ways and then feel, deepen into that sense of connection and unity without chemicals. So obviously then I started getting into meditation and things like that.
I just want to acknowledge, that's so young to have that kind of wisdom to say, no, I want to find it, for myself in a way that persists. That's many people don't get out of that.
And then I'll go on you can bring me back. I'm going to carry on with the spiritual explorations that I did, the early ones. But I think there's also a theme here about our soul nature, because we have our personality, then our soul nature, and let's say infinite spirit, just to put it in a more popular vernacular. So that this dimension of soul also is very important, because the personality may be imprinted from Kansas City parents, and may have some more conservative imprinting, but the impulses of the soul driving us forward and learning the lessons and deepening. I obviously believe in reincarnation and lifetime. So I feel I brought in, let's say, a depth of spiritual wisdom into this lifetime, from my soul nature. And that is why I had an obsession, and also where progress happened in my spiritual studies, that went deep and fairly rapidly. And I would attribute this to, let's say, previous work I had done in other lifetimes, and so in terms of my soul nature, bringing this into this lifetime. So that's where I think this resolved. I want to experience this through non-chemical means.
Right.
And also a theme to say here is the inherent unified field of existence that we, let's say, rediscover in spiritual awakening, and in our terminology, initial whole being realization. We already are that. I am incarnation, materialization of divine being in a materialized form. And everyone and everything is that. So it's a matter of, let's say, uncovering what we already are, what already is true.
Nice.
And so prior to the clarification that we call initial whole being realization, there'd be breakthroughs and some peak experience or openings into some experience of this unified field, this seamless unity, some heightened opening into this where it becomes more obvious, and then we don't have, then it recedes, and then we go, I want more of that. Well, I kept going, I want more of that. But the point is, many people, and even some that are not spiritual, will get these intuitions and breakthroughs of this sense of this opening, and then it's like you feel connected with everything in some mysterious way, and your sense of a limited separate personality may recede, and feeling more connection with things, and it's kind of a natural high. But these are the intuitions and breakthroughs of that divine being, the unified field of divine being, that are by grace just showing themselves in an organic way. So these things would happen along the way, and were encouraging, and I was going, oh, I want more of that. I'm remembering I had a very profound experience at Big Sur, where I was with my girlfriend at that time, and might have been in the late 70s or early 80s, but I had a profound unity experience. And my mind quieted down. I felt one with everything, and the yin yang connection, and expanded. Felt Buddha-like. And it lasted a while. It must have been an hour or something like that.
Wow.
And I remember sitting there, closing. It was a meditation. I was going, oh my God. And I felt I had arrived, but I knew likely would recede. And also to put a plug here, part of my nature is I love bliss and ecstasy. And this term that I learned from Adida, which he used the term radiant divine love bliss. Well, so we'll also go into the Adida connection as we develop. But so I believe in this high unity experience at Big Sur. I was also feeling this love bliss, like this intoxication of love bliss with the unity, and also more energy. So that's the Shakti, so divine energy and ecstasy. So I was reveling in that and going, and then saying, I wish this could last, but it probably won't. But I'm just going to enjoy it for as long as it lasts. So it did recede probably after a few hours, but that was a wonderful expansion and spiritual gift of grace. Obviously, it helps in terms of spiritual seeking, going, okay, what was that? And how do I find that again or recover that again?
Yeah. So you had many glimpses of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And times in meditation, which I did assume, then there'd be maybe not this full blownness, but openings or quietings or feelings of deeper connection that would be, I would like more of this in my life and have it last more. So weaving that back to going back in time, I was talking about Alan Watts, and I was at UC Berkeley, and they were offering there was a class on Buddhism. Oh. And then there was also a Buddhist meditation, this Zen group that would meditate at the student union once a week. So I went to that, and there was this class on Buddhism, and I was reading Alan Watts. So I was increasing my exposure. I was getting more food, spiritual food to eat, study. So I think it didn't work out. I was auditing this class in Buddhism because I think I couldn't register for it for some reason. Like it was first, I don't remember the exact reason, but it opened up a lot of things. I learned about Tibetan Buddhism and Zen and all these different traditions. Growing up in San Francisco, there are a lot of spiritual teachers and spiritual groups that either set up there or visit. And I took advantage of that. I went to a lot of things. So, we had the Zen Center, and then there's Tibetan Buddhist Center, different centers. And I was part of EST, with Werner Erhard. Yeah. So that was also a big opening to that. I was in the human potential movement.
Wow. I'm learning so much about you.
I delved into that. I was in EST from the beginning, took Werner's second training and just did it for many, many years. Well, Werner also brought Swami Muktananda and the Karmapa, who's the head of the Kagyu lineage of the Tibetan Buddhism, to San Francisco.
Oh my God.
And had events. So I got to see Swami Muktananda and go to events with him, and then also the Karmapa. And he did these powerful ceremonies, the black hat ceremony and the Vajra crown ceremony. And they were held in a hotel room. So here I was going, oh my God, this is amazing. And getting these transmissions of these high initiations. And I remember the Karmapa had this big smile on his face. I liked him because he had this radiance and this big heart and warm smile and this powerful spiritual transmission, obviously. And also visited, there was Kalu Rinpoche who visited San Francisco. He was high in the Kagyu lineage. So I got to see many of these people. And there's the different Hindu teachers. There was Satchidananda.
Oh my God.
And so many. And it was like a banquet. And I wanted to sample all these different spiritual offerings. Some I resonated with more. Some felt like, okay, let me have this meal. Okay, this feels meal. Okay, that has enriched me, and I'm feeling to explore more in this direction. So eventually, I went to dental school in 1974 to 1978, and I was a dentist for 40 years. That's, as I said, and so that took up a lot of my life. And I retired, about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And so that's why I have more time for spiritual teaching now. So probably if I was still a dentist, we'd go, Deborah, I don't have time for this interview. I'm too busy in the dental office. Oh, maybe we'll do that next year or summer break. Anyway, so now I have a whole new life. I'm living in the Sedona, Arizona area. That's a whole other story. But so in all these spiritual explorations, I was going to dental school. So before dental school, I was having lunch. I was working downtown, and I was having lunch in a park. And I began talking to this woman who was sitting near me, and she told me about Baba Free John.
Oh, wow.
This is Adi Da now, was Baba Free John then. And I'm going, whoa, this guy sounds really like a very highly realized teacher. And he was kind of scary, like she, they were, because he had his own style of working this crazy wisdom way. So then I began studying about Baba Frijan, now Adida. So this was significant spiritual food here. And I felt, okay, this person, this master, this spiritual master, it appears to me has the highest realization. And so I want to study more of this. And I did. That's a longer, more complicated story, but for people, so they understand, like if you couldn't see him in person unless you are an advanced student. So having access to him in terms of physical meeting and working with him, that won't happen at that time. There are different kind of openings, but you had to be a more advanced student to spend time with him personally. And so I was a formal friend having, let's say, earlier level involvement with Baba Frijan Adida. And it seemed like a daunting spiritual system. Like there's this thing called the life conditions that you take on. And that was more complicated. Like because wanting to do things perfectly, I feel I would have to do the life conditions perfectly. And like do everything every day. And I'm going, I can't do that. Ooh, too much. So I was a formal student. I think about 20 years, I was a formal friend. And for about 1 year, I became a formal student. And so Terry was one of my instructors, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So we got to study classes, his teaching, and occasionally visit the sanctuary. And access was limited. Sometimes we couldn't even go in the sanctuary. We could just serve the periphery. And this is also when I met Sanya Bonder, when I was a formal friend. And, most people know Sanya Bonder is the founder of Waking Down. And so I will then run into Sanya later in Waking Down. But this is how I got acquainted with Sanya. I was like, oh, he's one of the big people in Adida's teaching. And he was giving some, I went to some of the presentations he did and things like that. So going back to your question about what I thought awakening was, there were different conceptions of it along the way. Zen was a big kind of thing of having a quiet mind and these satoris. Then it seemed like the Hindu kind of awakening was a little different. I studied a lot of metaphysics, and they talked about enlightenment and a different kind of awakening. Like in metaphysics, they talk about personality soul fusion. Then there's then all these different kind of terminology of the Hindu spiritual terms and the Buddhist spiritual terms. Well, then Adida had his own language, but he talked about the 7th stage realization. I'm going, that's the top. That's what I want. But little slug me. I mean, I'm not getting the 7th stage realization. But then he talked about the levels of realization, and 6th level is the realization of consciousness, but exclusive consciousness that is not associated with phenomena. And so studying with Adida's teaching, I learned a lot about, let's say, the range of spiritual expression and the different realizations, different levels of realization. Like, I was like, Swami Muktananda was supposed to be a 4th level realization. No, that was the 5th, I think, the yogic, and 4th was the heart opening. fifth was yogic phenomena, and then the sixth was exclusive consciousness, and then seventh was this complete God realization. And so was my conception of awakening, was seventh stage. That's the top, the Himalayan peak, and I'm not getting there. Only there's going to be only a few climbers that make it, spiritual aspirants that make it to seventh stage. The Mount Everest peak, and it's an exclusive elite club, and I'm not in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my conception of spiritual awakening, like the ultimate. And it felt like you had to be very, very advanced. And so what I was planning to do was, I'm just going to do the best I can in this life. And I was thinking maybe I would awaken in a future life,
mm-hmm.
future lifetime. And I would, but I'm going to make good progress towards that. Okay, so skip forward. I hear from one of my dental patients, who's also a longtime spiritual seeker, Lance Sukup. Lance is a dear man. Sadly, he passed away from cancer a few years back, but he was a longtime dental patient, and we would talk about our spiritual searches and what we're doing. So he told me about Sanyal Bonder, and he said, Sanyal had left Adida, and suppose he had awakened. And I'm going, no, can't be. No one can awaken. But maybe he did. Oh my God, did he? So I had to find out. So that's what brought me to Waking Down. So that's the long story, before I enter into that whole saga of my kind of spiritual history and what unfolded and what my conception of awakening was. But it wasn't going to happen to me, because it was this, Mount Everest, and I was just this ordinary person. Okay, now I want to weave in the rot.
Okay.
I was rotten. I didn't know it. I was deep in the rot, because I felt like a spiritual failure and a human failure. So I was a student for 1 year of Adida, and then you had to take on the life conditions and be at the next level. I was LMI 1, and you had to go to, he was visiting from Fiji, and you could visit him if you were an LMI 2 student. And so I had an interview, and they said, well, you need to take on life conditions. Can you do this? And I'm going, no, I can't do it right. I couldn't in good conscience say, yes, I'll do this, and just kind of fake it and do them.
Because that shows your great integrity. You really wanted to do it if you were going to do it.
Yeah. And I was all, they say, boy, you're really wound up tight, because I've got to do it right. I'm not, I can't do it, but I want to be able to do it. So then I think it was suggested to me I take a break. So I think I stepped back to being a formal friend. So then this meant I was, for me, a spiritual failure. I couldn't even be a student, couldn't even take on the life conditions, and I didn't get to see Adida in person. Skipping forward, I did get to see Adida in person many years later, when there was this window where he was doing public programs in this big circus tent up at the sanctuary, the Mountain of Attention. And so public could go see him they had these 6 weekends. So I took advantage of that, and I did see him 2 or 3 times in this public event in this large circus tent. So that was satisfying and fulfilling.